Hey there, welcome. My name is Katie Lane. I'm a co-founder here at Thrive Alcohol Recovery, and I'm also a success story of the Sinclair Method starting in 2017. I'm so happy to have you here. In this video, I wanted to cover some really important information about the Sinclair Method if you're someone who's looking into this treatment for yourself or for a loved one. I'm going to cover really 4 key components about this treatment that are really the most common questions or concerns that people have when they're considering this treatment to cut back on alcohol. Number 1, I'm going to just give a little bit of background as to what is the Sinclair Method, especially if you're new to it and you're not sure, or even if you know a little bit about it. This information will be helpful to you. Number 2, I'm going to talk about who is this treatment ideal for, and then conversely, number 3, who is this treatment not ideal for, and then number 4, the most common question I get from people is, well, if this treatment is as successful as the research says it is, it's been clinically proven to have a 78% success rate, and it's been around for 30 years, then why haven't I heard of it before, or why hasn't my doctor heard of it? So I'm going to talk about that a little bit as well. First, just a real quick disclaimer before we jump in. Nothing in this video constitutes medical advice. I'm going to be sharing with you based on my personal experience with the method, my experience as a coach in this field for about 5 years now, and I'm also going to be referencing several studies and information that can be found in the book, The Cure for Alcoholism by Dr. Roy Escapa. And of course, you should always chat with your doctor on whether or not naltrexone and the Sinclair Method are a good treatment option for you. And if you join our program, we can actually refer you to a telemedicine physician who specializes in this treatment. Let's jump in. So first, what is the Sinclair Method? So the Sinclair Method is a science-based protocol that has decades of research behind it, which has shown over and over again that this treatment protocol can help most people reduce their alcohol consumption. This treatment works by taking a medication called naltrexone that is taken 1 hour prior to consuming alcohol. And the reason that this works really has to do with how alcohol use disorder develops in the brain. In the book, The Cure for Alcoholism, and really a key component of David Sinclair's research, showed that alcohol addiction is actually a learned behavior. And in the book, it says that addiction is a learned behavior that has been reinforced so often and so powerfully that the addicted person is no longer able to control it. Alcohol drinking produces reinforcement and is learned through that reinforcement. I don't know if you're anything like me, but that was certainly true in my case, where when I first started drinking, I didn't really have an issue with stopping. I could have a few drinks and be done with it. And I could go days without drinking without any issue. But the more I drank, and I drank to excess, and I drank repeatedly, I got to a point where I really couldn't stop drinking once I started. And that's how I know that my brain had tipped over into alcohol use disorder, and that I had developed my own learned behavior of alcohol use disorder. What Sinclair showed in his research is that essentially the reason that alcohol is addictive and that almost anyone can develop an alcohol use disorder is because of the rewarding effects that alcohol produces, including endorphins. When we consume alcohol, it produces a flood of feel-good hormones and endorphins in our brain, and that pleasure that we get causes the behavior of drinking to be reinforced, and our brain continues to look forward to and crave the reward that it gets from alcohol. It explains this more in The Cure for Alcoholism and how it is that naltrexone, following the Sinclair Method, works to interrupt this pattern of drinking equaling a reward reinforcement inside the brain. So it goes on to say, ingesting sugar, saccharin, and alcohol causes endorphin release in the brain. Naltrexone has the ability to completely block the effects of the endorphins diffused around the brain, which would otherwise be activating billions of opioid receptors, resulting in reinforcement or strengthening of the pathways or circuitry producing craving and drinking. However, each time you drink while on naltrexone, the reinforcement from endorphins will be blocked in your brain. Taking naltrexone will not only prevent the opioid pathways in your brain from being reinforced and strengthened, but each time you have a drink while on naltrexone, you will be weakening the endorphin reinforced pathways, the superhighways that became hardwired into your brain and now control your drinking and your life. The Sinclair Method progressively reverses your addiction, ultimately removing it from your brain by trimming back the superhighways so that they are restored to their original condition as the narrow pathways you started out with before you began drinking. The solution to your problem is not through abstinence, it is through naltrexone plus continued drinking. And just to speak to this from my own experience and also what I've heard from clients over the years as well, is that this really is what happens. Over time through the Sinclair method, it really does feel like the alcohol use disorder is being reversed inside of the brain. And for me, that manifested as me really having more control when I drank. I could go out and have a couple drinks and just be satisfied and not feel the need to keep drinking until I was super drunk or blacked out. I wasn't craving alcohol anymore. I just didn't think about or care about drinking. I was really indifferent to it. And the longer I was on the treatment, the more alcohol-free days I was having as well. And by the end of the treatment, when I reached what the end goal is, which is called pharmacological extinction of the addiction, which is just another term for the Sinclair method, I really feel like the addiction was completely reversed from my brain, and that my brain was essentially restored back to the state it was in before I ever had alcohol use disorder, which means alcohol was just a non-issue for me. I didn't care about it anymore. Sometimes I would drink, but when I did, I had control. And so this really felt like a miraculous treatment for me. But I don't want to ignore the fact that it certainly was not an overnight fix. It was not an instant fix. And I certainly had to meet the method halfway, working on my habit change, finding new coping tools, and really creating a life that didn't revolve so much around drinking, especially because I was a daily drinker for nearly 10 years. It was a very ingrained habit and very ingrained coping tool, which is really why we created our support program here at Thrive, is to support people through the treatment protocol so that they can make meaningful changes in their life. But I know that I would not be where I am today without this powerful, life-changing treatment. All right, now on to question number 2. Who is the Sinclair method treatment protocol ideal for? So this treatment protocol, according to the Cure for Alcoholism, is really for those people who are currently drinking alcohol. And the reason for that is in Sinclair's research, he really showed that naltrexone worked best when it was paired with the alcohol. Following this protocol, naltrexone is taken 1 hour before drinking. And so according to the Cure for Alcoholism and Sinclair's research, this treatment is ideal for people who are actively consuming alcohol. It's also ideal for people who have goals of moderate drinking. Whether you have goals to cut back on your drinking or you want to go alcohol-free at some point in the future, what's great about this treatment is that really it's up to you to decide the type of relationship you want to have with alcohol. I know for me, I started this treatment with a goal to drink moderately, and I was so excited that there was a treatment option for me that wasn't super black and white, where I just had to stay abstinent forever and never drink alcohol again. I loved that there was a science-based protocol that could help me cut down on my drinking. And I personally did the Sinclair method for a year, and it truly made me a moderate drinker. I became someone who was having a couple of glasses of wine a couple times a month. I could trust myself again when I drank. I had this control back over alcohol, and that was such a good feeling. But what happened for me after about a year on this treatment protocol is I tell people that I accidentally quit drinking. I talked about how earlier I just really developed this indifference to alcohol where I could take it or leave it. And what happened for me is after a year on the treatment, I kept going month after month after month without drinking. So after 4 months of being totally alcohol free, having no desire, no craving, no white knuckling, I figured, well, I guess I'm going to go alcohol free. I'm not going to drink anymore. And that was about 5 years ago now. But I do still keep naltrexone on hand because I'm not opposed to the idea that I might drink again one day. Who knows? But I just haven't had a strong enough desire to drink. So I just haven't. But all this to say, it's up to you to decide your personal goals that you have with regards to the Sinclair method treatment protocol. Some people like me go on the treatment to drink moderately and end up going alcohol free. I would say the majority of people have a goal to drink moderately, and most of us can sustain that for as long as we would like to continue to drink on the treatment, and others end up going alcohol free at the end of it. So again, all of this is up to you to decide your personal goals, but this treatment is ideal for people who are currently drinking alcohol and really have a goal to cut back, whether your personal desire is to be able to drink moderately in the future or go alcohol free. And there's no pressure to decide when you're starting on the treatment either, because your goals might evolve over time, just like mine did. Another point discussed in the book, The Cure for Alcoholism, is that this treatment has been shown to work for people at all stages of alcohol use disorder, whether it's an early stage and you're just starting to question or notice issues with your alcohol, or more of a middle stage where you see the consequences and the harm related to your drinking and you've been aware of it for a while, or maybe more of a late stage where your life feels like it's become somewhat unmanageable due to your drinking habits. It's been shown to work for all stages of alcohol use disorder, and of course, when you decide to do the method, you will meet with a physician, hopefully that's knowledgeable enough about the treatment and be able to diagnose and understand whether or not this treatment is ideal and suitable for you. Again, if you join our program, we will refer you to a telemedicine doctor who specializes in this treatment. All right, question number 3, who is the Sinclair method not ideal for? Because it's not ideal for everybody. So according to The Cure for Alcoholism, pregnant women should not be drinking alcohol, nor should they use naltrexone or numerous other medications. It also says if you have an addiction to an opiate such as heroin, morphine, or any other synthetic opiate such as oxycodone, that you should inform your prescribing physician, because you could precipitate an opiate withdrawal reaction if you take naltrexone. And this is critical because precipitating an opiate withdrawal could be fatal. Do not take naltrexone if you are physiologically dependent on opiates. It also says if you're currently abstinent, unless you're relapsing, there's really no valid reason to start the treatment. You are instead to be commended and stay with your current treatment if it's working for you. The Sinclair method is really intended for those who are currently drinking excessively, whether frequently or infrequently, or people who wish to prevent an escalation of the drinking. Naltrexone does not cause withdrawal reactions from alcohol. This treatment is also not ideal for people who want to be abstinent right now. So if you're currently drinking and you want to quit drinking right away, the Sinclair method is not an ideal treatment for you, because again, the research showed that with this treatment protocol, naltrexone is typically taken 1 hour prior to consuming alcohol, and that's how the Sinclair method works, or in other words, the pharmacological extinction approach to alcohol addiction. But I would definitely recommend you still talk to your doctor about naltrexone or other medications that might be helpful for you in overcoming alcohol use disorder with the personal goals that you have now. And then the final question, number 4, if the Sinclair method and naltrexone is so effective, why isn't it more well known? And I've been in this field working in it since 2018 and I've seen a lot of different physicians and experts and researchers talk about this. And I just wanted to pull this quote that was in Psychiatry Online, which I think really just simply and succinctly summarizes why it is that this treatment is not more well known. So it says that there are several reasons for underutilization of naltrexone. For example, many physicians are unfamiliar with the medication, and alcohol rehabilitation centers are not typically staffed by medical professionals. But most important, they said, is the long-standing conviction widely held among physicians as well as the general public that people with alcohol use disorder can be treated only by the 12-step recovery model. There is a political issue here, and the issue that until relatively recently, the medical profession had little to offer alcoholics, and it was during the period that Alcoholics Anonymous developed. Today, there are 1,000 different AA programs in the Philadelphia area alone, and they tend to be naturally opposed to medication. When I send a patient to a rehab center, they follow the 12-step program. He also added that many counselors in rehab centers are likely to advise patients not to use medication. So in my experience, this really does summarize some of the reasons why this treatment isn't more well known, even though it's been researched for 30 years and proven effective. I remember when I first learned about naltrexone and the Sinclair method in 2017, I went to 5 different doctors in my area to ask for a prescription, and they all told me no. They all wanted me to go to rehab and Alcoholics Anonymous. And I hear this from people a lot as well, where they'll ask their doctor for the medication and they'll simply be refused, or the doctor won't even know how to prescribe the medication. Now, that doesn't always happen. Of course, other doctors are more knowledgeable about it, but it really just depends on your specific physician. I've also gone to a a lot of addiction conferences over the years as well, and these treatment centers really are based, the majority of them, on 12 Steps and Alcoholics Anonymous. And I think that's a great program for the people that it works for, but there's not really other options outside of that. The majority of the treatment centers are still really focused on abstinence only, 12 Steps, and AA. And with the Sinclair method, as you know by now, it's not an abstinence-based treatment. It's actually started while someone is still drinking, with the goal to help them cut back on their alcohol consumption. All right, so that's it for today's video. I hope that it helps you better understand a little bit more about the Sinclair method and who this treatment is ideal for, who it's not ideal for, and also why it's not more well known. One of my favorite things about this treatment, and that I hear from clients all of the time, is that it's something that can be done discreetly, it can be done from home, and it doesn't require life interruptions. In fact, many people have joined our program and they haven't even told anybody in their life that they're doing this treatment protocol, because as we know, there can be so much, unfortunately, shame and stigma that comes along with alcohol problems. So if you're in a place today where you are struggling with your alcohol consumption and you want to go on a path that will help you just to start reduce your drinking to lower levels, then I definitely encourage you to look into the Sinclair method. And in our support program, we can guide you through the treatment step by step. We can also refer you to a telemedicine doctor who will work with you to get you set up on the medication prescription and make sure that you are a good candidate for the treatment. You can get started on the Sinclair method and in our program using the link below. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us, and I'm just wishing you all of the best.